WPVM LP in Asheville, North Carolina. You can also listen online at WPVMFM.org and watch on WPVM's Facebook page. And guys, you can even wave to all your many fans and friends who are watching on Facebook Live. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and each week we focus on the Asheville theater scene, as well as on positive news and information about organizations in the Asheville area. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce my first guests, all members of the Land of Sky Chorus, and they are, and I think rather than me introduce it, I'll have you guys take it from left to right. So,
Pete Kirchner.
okay, Pete.
Steve Anderson.
Richard Douglas.
And I'm Randy Hagan.
Okay, I think we want you guys, when we speak or sing, we'll come a little closer to the mic. And I'm really excited to have you guys because we were blessed, I guess, a couple months ago, maybe we had a brief show on the Land Sky Chorus. And these guys are just great, and I think you'll see that in just a second. And let me ask you, first of all, how did you get into being in a barbershop quartet? I guess I'll ask I'll try to get names. Pete?
Yes, sir.
Is it? And Pete, the question is, when you were a little kid growing up, okay, and where'd you grow up in?
I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, and I started in performing arts and actually dance. And not only sing, but I danced with the Greengrass Cloggers, so we've been all over the world doing that. But my knees started giving out, so I had to do something else, so I started singing.
When did you start singing?
Back in the early 90s, started with the chorus, and one of the guys from our church said, "Hey, I go barbershop singing, why don't you come with us?" I said, "Okay," and I've been doing it ever since.
Okay, and how long have you been with Land of Sky?
28 years, I think.
Okay, so I guess you've been with them for a while.
Yep.
And Steve, the same question too. So your background had been, did you sing as a kid?
Yes, in fact, I sang a little bit as a kid. I sang a lot when I was in my 20s, and then I didn't sing much at all until 1997 when I joined the chorus in Luxembourg. We were living overseas. And then I became the chairman of that choir, and I sang there for 20 years, and now I came here 4 years ago and joined these guys about 2.5 years ago.
Now, when you sang elsewhere, you were in choirs. Barbershop is a little bit different than just a choir, right?
Yeah, well, our notes are very close to each other. It's close harmony, for one thing. Also, it's a cappella, almost always, except we'll make an exception on Saturday for our visiting quartet. But normally it's 100% a cappella.
And so when you're in a barbershop choir, that's different than a regular choir. It's not a cappella. Oh, I get it. So that you don't have background music.
Well, with a regular choir, they may or may not have a piano, bass, drums. They may have accompaniment. We never have accompaniment. Our chorus never has accompaniment. We blow a starting note and off we go.
Okay. And I'll ask, it's Richard. Richard, same thing to your background. How long have you been involved in barbershop quartet?
I started 10 months ago.
No, being facetious or?
I think it's what you call a late start.
Oh, really? Wow, you're the first guy. I didn't know you accepted him in as 10
Even
months
old
ago.
guys like him?
Yeah.
He's still on probation.
Wait, is that a great story? Is that the first time you'd ever done
You just
barbershop
need to
quartet?
walk in the door and give it a try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the first time you'd ever done this?
I sang in, church choir, things like that. But I've never had to memorize the music and sing without accompaniment. So it's been a lot of fun.
Now, the question I sometimes ask of choir folks is, so you have to memorize the music?
If you want to sing in barbershop, you do, yeah.
No, because I'm saying you can't have, some concerts you'll see they have a stand or something in front of
Well, we
them.
go through a learning period, but
Yeah.
to perform, you need to be completely competent, so to say, yeah.
Now, I always wondered about that, too, in terms of performing. Do you get tested, like, in other words, so you're not just mouthing the words or going along with other people? Do they ever say to you, hey, get up front here and sing this to see that we know the words?
Well, our organization is open to anyone that wants to give it a try. But ultimately, if you're going to perform with the chorus, and we do have several performances during the year, we have section leaders, and we turn in recordings to section leaders to verify that we're ready to perform.
How many songs for this concert did you have to?
Maybe 6 or 7, because we're not by ourselves. We have other groups with us, so I think we had to learn 6 or 7 songs. Isn't that about right?
That's about right, yeah.
And Randy, the same thing, too. So you've been involved in singing in choirs for how long?
Yeah, I started singing in choirs when I was about 10, and I sang in choirs and choruses. In fact, like Steve, I was in the military, and I was stationed overseas, and I sang in a German chorus, but I didn't start singing barbershop until about 6 years ago. Discovered that in my previous home in San Antonio. And so it's a different kind of way of putting notes and words together. You know, and you think of four-part harmony, normally you hear the top voice is the one with the melody. In barbershop, the second voice is where the melody lies. So it makes for a little bit different sound, and as we sing through, it enables a lot of close harmonies, which is what we all live for. We live for those wonderful chords.
Now, you have a great poster, which I'll try to show, and we'll talk about the upcoming concert. But in the poster, and this is a concert on Saturday, June 15th. I'll try to show it if people can see it, but we'll talk about it as well. I see a bunch of people in the group itself. When you sing, are you each singing in groups of 4? Is that how it works, or do you all sing together?
No, we all sing together, but we all sing 4 parts. So we may have 4 leads, we may have 4 tenors, and we may have 4 or 10 basses or whatever. But all the basses sing the same line. All the baritones sing the same line. All the leads sing the same line, and all the tenors sing the same line, so that you get the harmonies through all 4 parts, no matter how many voices you have singing them.
Do you ever sing with just, well, you're singing today in just a little bit with the 4 of you.
Right.
Do you ever perform with just the 4 of you?
Oh,
We
yeah.
do, yes.
You see the shirt we're wearing?
Yeah.
This is our quartet. We
Oh,
are a quartet.
oh, is that-
Mountaineer, yes.
So-
We're within the chorus, but we are also a quartet.
So at the concert, will you do some songs just the quartet?
There will be quartets. It won't be us this time because one of us can't make it. But there will be some other groups performing, including a quartet.
Okay, so within the chorus, I got it. So within Lance Sky Chorus, is how many folks?
We have about 20 active right now, but actually we have 40 on the rolls. But right now about 20 are active.
And you're telling me the last time you spoke, right now, or at least in the picture, there's 1 female.
That
She's our
is
director.
She's
yes.
director.
Katie
But-
Swinney.
But I think you were telling me last time we had 1 woman came on board, and she was joining you for that time?
We did a holiday community chorus last year for Christmas, and we invited the public to come and sing with us, and that lady was one of the ladies who came to sing with us, and she was so good that we invited her to sing for Valentine's Day with us, because we do Valentine's Day quartets, and we go all around Asheville and sing for Valentine's Day, and she was one of those people.
And I think that's one of the great activities you do, that just Valentine's Day, you do some other kinds of things also in the community as well. Aside from the concerts, what else do you do in the community?
Well, one of the great things that we're going to be doing this year, is we've got a deal with an organization that we're going to go out and find 100 or more dementia patients and sing to them, because they respond very positively to music.
I'm getting a chill, but I'll tell you why. And I don't think we've spoke about this, Steve, but I'm also on the board of the Dementia Society of America. I don't know if I talked to you about that.
You're the one who got us involved.
Okay. Okay, well, I was wondering, because it sounded familiar. Oh, I'm so proud of you. Wait, so did you get a grant through them?
We got a grant.
Oh, I'm so proud of you.
We
Good.
got a grant.
Great.
Thanks
Okay.
to you, we got a grant from the Dementia
Oh.
Society. It's a special name. It's a lady's name. What is it? Do you remember? I can't
Ann
remember right
Redfield.
now.
Jenny
yes.
Jenny Jamerson was it
Yes.
was in honor of her. the
Exactly,
organization. So-
yes.
Oh, it's so great. So you're going to be doing that this year as well?
We are going to be doing that right after the concert. We're going to start arranging to sing to dementia patients all around the Asheville area.
Because as you said, it really does make a difference.
Yeah.
In terms of making a difference, let me, I guess, put you guys on the spot, because one of the things, if you have a barbershop quartet, is they have to sing, and so even before the show today, they're in the hallway disturbing the peace, and they're singing, and I had to fight to get them inside because all they wanted to do was sing. But I believe you have a couple of songs you could sing for us today?
Yes, we do, in
Could
fact.
we hear one of them?
We'd like to start out with one called Let Me Call You Sweetheart.
Okay, I think people may have heard that.
Probably, yes. Let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you. Let me hear you whisper that you love me too. Keep the love light glowing Something in your eyes so true. Let me call you sweetheart. I'm in love with you.
Question. You guys are teaching me about barbershop quartet stuff. You started the group off, Richard. It's
Pete.
Pete. I'm sorry. Close enough. You started the. I don't know how I got Richard there. You started off the group. With you played something to get the tune. What did you do to get it going?
That gives us the language that we're speaking. In that particular song, we were speaking the language of B flat. So in the next song, we'll be speaking the language of A flat. So that just gives us what the starting tone is supposed to be.
Now, is that something you do before you sing every song?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and what are you playing there?
It's called a pitch pipe.
Okay, and is that something that every member has, a pitch pipe, or not? Not
Tend
all.
to have. Sometimes we have electronic ones on our phones.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Unless you know what language you're singing in, it's hard to get everybody on the same note when they start.
Now, in terms of the song, it was kind of interesting. That song, again, few people may have heard it. Randy, how do you choose the music to sing?
Well, a couple or three different things that we look at. One is difficulty. One is what appeals to us. It could be an uptune, like that's a sort of an uptune, or it could be a ballad. It may be something that we've heard where we love the lyric because it says something really wonderful that we like. So all of those things going together come into our discussion about what it is we want to sing to be entertaining to folks. So there's a lot of things that go into it, actually.
And a lot of it is the arrangement also. Some songs arrange better for the barbershop style than other songs. So we take a look at the arrangement and see if it's something that sounds good with that particular song.
Could you make almost any song a barbershop song?
You can, but it may not sound great.
There's a lot of modern stuff coming out now. We've got some wonderful arrangers within the Barbershop Harmony Society, very famous guys, for us anyway. And they can take a modern song and turn it into a beautiful barbershop song.
I was thinking that'd really be cool. But have you guys ever done that? Have you ever done it? I guess called arranging, or have you ever tried to make a song into barbershop?
We have some guys in the group that have. We have one guy that did a wonderful arrangement of Moonglow, and it was a really nice arrangement.
Mm-hmm.
He did a great job with it. So.
The cool thing I think about your music is that, well, I guess it's an age thing, because a lot of people younger may not know it, but people older, I guess, know it. But you can actually hear the words, and you can actually enjoy the words.
Point, yeah.
And that's anytime I've heard barbershop quartet, I say to myself, that's pretty cool, Whereas a lot of other music, you have no idea of the words.
Well, kind of an interesting thing about barbershop is historically the roots of barbershop are in gospel music and, the black community. It's interesting, wonderful, wonderful folks that would just show up on a corner and they sit and they'd harmonize. I mean, back towards the end of the 19th century and into the 20th century, this is where we started. And it became more and more popular. And for reasons we don't entirely understand, it transitioned more into the white community as, those of us who are singers now. We love that the roots of our art, and it goes back, literally to the century before last, is where it started here in this country. And Barbershop Harmony Society, of which we're a part, began 81 years ago. The Land of the Sky Chorus was founded 71 years ago. So our chorus has been in continuous operation since then. It's one of the first choruses in the country.
By the way, before I forget, I should also mention a very generous offer from the Land of the Sky Chorus. But for this upcoming concert we mentioned on June 15th, it's Father's Day. It's also a great way to celebrate at the Land of the Sky Chorus concert on Saturday, June 15th at 7 p.m. at Asheville High School. The reason I mention that, if anybody's listening would like to get a chance to win 2 tickets to that concert, Land Sky Chorus is very generously making 2 tickets available for that concert. And if you'd like to be eligible, if you're watching us now on Facebook Live, please just type in the word, let us know you're watching the word tickets. So if you're watching on Facebook Live, you want to get tickets for this concert on June 15th, Father's Day, great way to take out a father or mother, anybody you want to come to the concert, please say hello to us and just write in the word tickets. We'll get you 2 tickets to the concert for the 15th.
Blaine, I might want to point out
Yeah.
now that the name of the concert is What About Dad? It's a dedication to fathers.
Okay.
That's what it's the day before, the eve before Father's Day. So we've got some songs that are specifically put together, and we prepared them for fathers.
And so
So
it's a great way to honor your father, or even if father's still not around, great way to remember your dad. And if you want to remember Father's Day, great way to celebrate. So if you're listening, we'll actually do it. We'll do it at random. So whoever just types in the word tickets on Facebook Live will award one person a prize. I wanted to go back to something that Randy had said, and clarify for me, though, the difference between, I guess, barbershop quartet and a doo-wop music. In other words, a doo-wop is also a cappella. Is that correct for the most part?
It can be. We have the group that we work with that's within our chorus is a doo-wop group, and they do all a cappella.
Okay.
So
And what's the difference between the two, or is there a difference?
I think the difference might be that doo-wop is 50s era music that a lot of folks, our age will remember growing up with, that has been arranged to meet the number of voices. Very often what you'll hear a singer who is a lead singing a melody that are backed up by the other singers. So it's not like what we do, which is the term of what we do in barbershop is homophonic, which means that we're all singing notes together to make chords. So we're doing chordage as we go across
Melodic harmony.
melodic harmonies. There you go. Whereas doo-wop, you'll have a singer singing a solo very often backed up by the other singers in the group.
And so, as mentioned, also some of the songs in Barbershop Quartet are a little bit older. For example, Let Me Call You Sweetheart might have been the 50s, but it might have been the
30s.
18... a little back then, too.
Fortunately, we still have sweethearts.
Okay, great line. And I guess, isn't that true, Richard, that I guess the music that you sing, for the most part, people can relate to, whatever their age. If they listen to the words and listen to the message, like I said, that's a great, message. Let me call you sweetheart. Ty segues perfectly into, I'll have you guys sing a second song, and are these going to be at the concert also?
one of them will be.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the second song is what?
It's got 2 names, The Story of the Rose or Heart of My Heart.
Okay, I think I've heard that a couple of
There are
times.
2 songs that we do with our singing Valentines, and the first one we just did, which Let Me Call You Sweetheart, is a singing Valentine number that we do for folks, and the next one is our second singing Valentine piece.
Okay, and what a great gift to give somebody, to have people, somebody sing a song to you.
Heart of my heart, I love you. Life would be naught without you. Light of my life, my darling, I love you. I love you. I can forget you never. From you I ne'er can sever. Say you'll be mine forever. I love
bad thing about that song, and there is a bad thing about that song, is that it had me wanting to join in. You know,
Well, you're
That's
welcome.
the whole idea.
and I don't know that we'd want to subject people to that particular
We
experience.
can turn your microphone down.
Well, let me ask you that question apropos to that. When you're doing a concert, do you find that people sort of sing along?
Oh,
Some
yes.
will, yes.
Yeah, do you encourage or discourage it?
Oh, well, I think we encourage it. We want people to enjoy the concert, and if they want to sing along with us, we think that's just great.
Yeah. I guess as one advantage to you being up front is you control the mics, though, so that even if somebody in the back row wants to join, other people aren't going to necessarily hear them.
Well, that's true, but I mean, I think it's a great thing if people get in the spirit of the song. A lot of artists will encourage people to sing along at certain points during a concert.
Do you guys do that at all?
Yeah, we have done that. I don't know if we'll do it Saturday. We might, but yes, we have.
Let's talk a little bit more about the concert. And I just had an idea, if it's okay with you, Steve, is that we're still offering, again, we're going to just pick it at random, just say the word tickets, and you'll be eligible to win 2 tickets to the concert. And we're going to also do, I think it's easier this way, Steve, we're going to add a special bonus, and whoever wins tickets are going to get a 1 ticket to a big raffle they're having at the event also. It's the Dad's Weekend Basket Raffle. And let's talk a little bit about both things. Let's talk a little bit about the concert, and we'll talk about the raffle as well. And you had something you wanted to add?
Yeah,
on that?
about the raffle, we won't talk about the total monetary value,
Right.
but it's pretty darn big. And it's not so much the money as the type of things that we are offering. It's hotel stays like the Crown Plaza, for example, 3 restaurant coupons for a good amount, and we got golf thrown in there too. The idea is, what would Father like to do? Even if he lives in Asheville, he might want to go stay at the Crown Plaza, you know, just for a break.
Okay, sounds nice. So that if people come to the concert, they'll be able to see the concert, also get tickets for this, they call it Dad's Weekend in Asheville, a raffle. And one person who's listening to the show now, again, all they have to do is type in the word tickets, and we'll choose one winner they'll get both tickets and 1 ticket to the raffle contest. I think you wanted to add something else?
Well, you can find out about the prizes for the raffle on our website, ashevillebarbershop.com.
Okay. And I guess people can also find out more information about the concert at that website as well?
On our homepage, if you go to ashevillebarbershop.com, you'll see 4 buttons, and you press 1 to buy tickets to the concert, you press another to buy a raffle ticket, you press another to donate to our chorus, and you press another to become a sponsor. So you can give in any way you want.
Sort of one-stop shopping.
One-stop
Yeah, there you
shopping.
go.
Make
That's
it easy.
it.
And you
And
can
we
al-
hope you shop.
okay, and you can also, I guess, press another button and become a member. Or
You can, in
talk-
fact.
talk
We'd
about
love
that
to have you.
process.
Yes.
If somebody wants to
Well,
become a
I'll
member,
let,
well, our newest member, or how about our
Richard,
newest member?
Can you talk
Richard,
about
how'd
becoming
you-
a member of
Like,
this
how did you,
course?
first of all, how did you hear about it, and then what led you to join?
Well, Steve Anderson here invited me to come along and give it a try, and it was really exciting. It's a little bit of it's a huge learning curve, but if you just take it a day at a time and a rehearsal at a time, you become mainstream with it.
When is rehearsal?
I'm sorry?
When is rehearsal?
Well, for me, rehearsal's about 6 days a week. But the chorus rehearses Tuesday night, typically around 7 o'clock. The website's a great way to learn more about the organization and communicate with us. We meet each Tuesday night in West Asheville at how would you describe the police station where we meet?
West Asheville Community Center.
The West Asheville
behind the
Community
police station
Center,
and fire
yeah.
department.
And so your rehearsals are typically how long?
2 hours.
2 hours is what the normal is, 7 to 9. Now, we have people showing up at 6 o'clock just to have fun, sing what we call tags, which is the ending of the song. And they just do that for fun, quartets, and also we do a little business and stuff, but we actually start at 7 o'clock with the rehearsal.
And talk a little bit about the concert, because one of the exciting things, I think, is not only will they get to see the Land of Sky Chorus, but in addition, you have 2 guest performances.
In fact, we have a group coming from Atlanta, mostly Atlanta, called Boardwalk. We've invited them to join us. They're very, very well known within the barbershop community, but also outside the barbershop community. They're a little different. You know, I told you we're a cappella. Well, they have decided that they're going to add some stringed instruments to their performances, and we let them get away with it. I don't know why, but we do. And they like to call themselves, instead of barber shop, they say barber folk. So they have their own kind of music. But just one little quick thing I wanted to say, you know, we have the 4 voice parts, and on their website, they have given a different name to each voice part. So, for example, Brad sings the high part. Instead of tenor, he sings the high part. And Mark sings the familiar part, which is the melody, the lead. Jared sings the low part. And David Callan sings the strange part, which is the baritone.
Definitely a strange part.
And then you have another group.
Well, we have
as well.
Shaboom. We were talking about
Right.
doo-wop music. We have Shaboom who's going to perform with us as well. Some of them are members of most of them are members of our chorus. They're going to do some doo-wop, so you can come out and find out what doo-wop is all about.
And Steve, I know we're against the clock, so I'm going to ask you to sing one more song, if you would, too. This is kind of a sweet song, if you want to give the background on that song.
Yes, in fact, this song will be in our concert on Saturday evening. I think it's our closing song, is it
Yeah,
not?
this is traditionally for the chorus. This is a song we like to close with. Whenever we do a concert or a performance, we like to end with this song.
So it's perfect for this show. We're going to end with this song. And this song, why don't you take it away, guys?
Oh, F sharp, I'm sorry. Sorry. Wrong language.
Yeah.
May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. May the rain fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may he hold you in his hand. May God hold you in the palm of his, hold you in the palm of his hand.
Very nice. Question, and I saw Richard doing something. I've seen other people do this at quartets, when the barbershop quartets. You were holding your hand above your ear,
Right.
and is there a reason for that?
Well, we don't do that when we perform where everyone can see us. But I've had hearing problems for about 35 years, so for me to really hear my part as opposed to hearing everybody else's part, it helps.
Oh, that's interesting. So
Yeah.
it hones in just your part when you do that?
Well, it helps me focus on it, right? Uh-huh.
How many songs will be in the concert, ballpark?
Oh, altogether, I don't know, Randy, you have
7 or
any-
8.
Well, that's what we're doing.
No, 7 or 8, but
And then
overall.
others,
2 hours worth of music.
15.
thereabouts.
Because I
15,
noticed
18
most,
songs.
most,
Are we talking about our whole repertoire?
right.
We have about 20 songs in the repertoire that range from patriotic songs, the national anthem, all the way through to Irish Blessing.
Because I noticed most of the songs are on the shortish side. You know,
can be.
they all seem to be about 2-3 minutes.
Mhm.
Is there anyone that's longer?
I don't know, maybe the Armed Forces
Armed
Melody.
Forces
uh,
medley. is
medley,
about 3.5
because-
minutes.
That'd probably be an exciting song to listen to.
It can be, especially if we sing it well.
Yeah.
It's real exciting.
Well, no, I mean, you said sing it well. Do you ever think they don't sing it well, or?
That's why we rehearse. Because there's a lot of precision that has to go into doing close harmonies like we do. Because unlike a keyboard, which is tempered, so there's a specific interval between each note, when you do close harmonies, you have to do micro adjustments to make the chords lock and ring. That's what's so hard about what we do. It's not an easy thing. So
And Steve, as a final question, I'll ask you to again mention the fact that who puts this all together? You have I guess, a director who's
We have a wonderful music director, Katie Swinney. who has been with us for about a year or so, and she conducts the rehearsals, and she of course conducts the chorus when we stand up and sing for people, and she is a music educator by profession, and unfortunately she's going to be leaving us in August, so we're actually recruiting a new music director. So if anybody out there is interested, please just go to ashevillebarbershop.com and call the phone number that you see there and tell us.
And again, come join the Land Sky Chorus on June 15th, coming June 15th, at the annual show on Saturday at Asheville High School. And I hope to see you then and have you come back again. This was great, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Okay.
Pleasure being here.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you,
Okay.
Blaine.
And as these guys work your way out of the studio, just remind you, type in the word tickets. You'll be eligible for 2 tickets to the upcoming show. I'd also like to mention that this show, Blaine's World Show, is sponsored by, support for the show and WPVM is underwritten by the Grail Movie House, Asheville's alternative cinema. Grail Movie House is an independent, locally owned 3-screen cinema located in downtown Asheville. For current features, visit the Grail website at grailmoviehouse.com, or you can also check in the Grail's social media pages. Also, I'd like to mention that there are 2 upcoming theatrical productions in the area I'd like to invite listeners to see. The first is called In the Assassin's Garden, and that's going to be from June 14th to the 30th at the Magnetic Theater, and the information for that show is www.themagnetictheater, spelled RE.com. In addition, there's another show called Hands on a Hard Body, and that continues at Asheville Community Theater through June 30th. And for information on that, go to ashevilletheater.org, and that's, again, THEATRE.org. And I think you'll really enjoy that show. It's a very tuneful musical, and it just so happens that yours truly even has a small part in it, so I hope you guys can make that as well. It's next my pleasure to introduce my second guest of the Blaine's World Show today, and he is a friend of mine, and kind of a longtime friend. I've known him for a week, is it, Ron? Or maybe 2, but we've known each other for a while. And he is Ron Greenberg, and I love how you describe it. Ron Greenberg is a semi-retired entrepreneur, photographer, and just all-around good guy. And Ron, you can say hello to your many fans and friends on Facebook Live.
Hello. I didn't know that I had any fans, but if I do, hello.
Well, hopefully they're watching.
Okay.
And I should mention, Ron's kind of an interesting guy in that he was born in the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area, lived and worked in commercial photography and commercial printing for over 40 years. You started when you were 3? Was that it? Yeah, well,
3.5.
3.5, my
Yeah.
God. A degree in commercial photography. He's also a musician. I didn't know you were a musician too.
Primarily percussion. But I also
Percussion.
play didgeridoo and a few other little things.
He's
Flute.
he's an entrepreneur. He's also, I like how he describes it, a professional networker, and he's building an international business, helping people get physically and financially healthy. He's been in Asheville for 4.5 years. I hope it's a lot longer than that, but who knows? You know, it may not be, but if so, it'll be Asheville's loss and somebody else's gain.
Thank you.
And Ron, the question I guess I always ask about people, you and I were talking a little bit off the air, but I guess when you were a little kid growing up in Philadelphia area, northeast Philadelphia,
Yes.
okay, did you always know you wanted to be, I guess you've done many things, but one of the things was to be a photographer.
Right.
So when did you decide that you really were into photography?
Well, I was visiting the Philadelphia Art Museum one time, and I think it was a school trip, and there was an Edward Curtis exhibit there, and he was famous for shooting Native Americans and capturing Native Americans because he knew they were disappearing, and his images are absolutely beautiful and intriguing. And I saw this one image, and it's called The Rush Gatherer, and it was a Native American in a birch bark canoe on a lake gathering rushes or reeds. And I was just so intrigued by that imagery, the beautiful, serene feel, you know, and I was like, that's how life should be, you know. And I was very intrigued by Native American culture when I saw that. And then I also was excuse me, sorry, kind of blown away by the ability to capture that moment in time. And that's what sparked my interest in photography.
About how old were you?
I was 8 years old.
And that's, you still remember that?
I do, very much so.
Did you ever get that image?
I do have a copy of that image. And I was just on a website and I saw that it's an original print from one of the original negatives. It's for sale. And I'm trying to think if I want to invest in that.
Question,
yeah.
is the photographer still around?
Oh, gosh, no. No, it was turn of the century.
Oh, was that?
Well,
Okay.
the 20th century, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
But that,
he
that's
actually
just-
died poor and destitute, basically, unfortunately.
But that's just an incredible story that you still remember that at the age of 8. So you got the bug.
Yeah.
You came home. So you came home then and said you wanted to be a photographer?
Not right in that moment. I did find an old development kit with a contact printer in my cousin's attic, so he gave me that, and I would play with that. And then I got a camera. My first camera was a Kodak Instamatic.
How old were you when you got that?
I was probably 10, maybe.
And you still remember the camera?
Yeah, I think I still have it somewhere. And I think I even have it in the original box.
Have you ever used it?
Well, you
Since?
can't
Or
get-
no, but lately.
Oh gosh, no! You can't get cartridges for it. I used to take those cartridges you would
Right.
plop in the back, you know.
Well, I was going to ask you that because even old cameras, right? They're still you can still buy film. Is that
Oh
correct?
yeah.
So I imagine, just like I was talking to you off the air, that I was at a party and somebody was using a Polaroid. You know, I didn't know they still had Polaroids around.
Yeah.
So the cartridge had.
Oh, Instamatics.
Yeah. Or
You
on
can
eBay
see
or
it.
something.
If you go to flea markets and all, you
Yeah.
see them. But again, I don't think you can get film for them. It'd be interesting if you could. I mean, they took those little flash cubes too.
Right,
Remember
right.
those?
Yeah, sure.
That was just crazy technology.
Well, it'd be interesting to see if you could, or see if you could find it available, and to go back to your very first picture. Do you
Yeah.
remember? Here's the question.
Okay.
Beyond that, do you remember the first pictures you took? Do you remember them at all? You got the camera, very exciting.
I think the first pictures I took were at the World's Fair in New York in 1964.
And do you have those pictures?
They're probably buried away somewhere. I don't know. But I do remember the first pictures I took with my first real camera, which was a Mamiya SLR, single lens reflex camera. And I do remember those pictures.
We'll talk about something you just said that's kind of interesting.
What?
Your first real pictures,
Yeah.
What makes that the first real pictures?
Yeah, real. What does that really mean? Well, with a real camera, I guess what you could consider a professional type camera or a higher end camera.
How old were you?
When I got that, I was probably 15 or 16.
Okay, it was pretty cool. So for a kid to have this camera,
Mhm.
that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I became the official photographer for our crowd, in school, and where we would hang out after school. I was the official photographer, so I was the record keeper, so to
Did
speak.
you do pictures for the newspaper or yearbook?
No, I didn't do that.
Really?
any of that.
That's surprising. I was surprised they didn't recruit you.
Well, when I was in school, I was pretty, pretty nerdy, I guess. I don't know. I just kind of kept to myself in school.
Ballpark, how many cameras have you owned?
Wow. Well, I did collect antique cameras for a while, so I've had quite a few. I've gotten rid of a lot of them, but right now I've probably got maybe 15 or 20.
And so you still collect them, or you still have
No,
them?
no, I'm trying to downsize and get rid of stuff.
Do you ever use some of the cameras? You say you haven't used it for a couple of years, and want to take this out and take some pictures?
I do occasionally. I have some large format cameras that I love playing. I mean, I shot large and medium format most of my career, I guess. Because when I studied photography, 35 millimeter was not considered a professional format. In fact, when I was in school, if you got caught with a 35 millimeter in school, they would throw you out for the day.
Really?
Yeah, because it's not professional format.
Well, you
Yeah.
don't think then, going back, they would have received digital very well?
Well, back then, like, who could even conceive of that? You know,
Right.
it's like, what? Yeah, we were in the basement of this old building in downtown Philadelphia, like tray developing sheet film, and plaster would be falling into your tray while you're developing.
And so remember the chemicals or the smell of the chemicals?
Yeah, stuff was nasty.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and your fingers were always yellow, from the chemicals.
We'll talk about something you said, though. It's kind of interesting that photography has changed, as most things.
Quite a bit, yeah.
And that, so now, of course, digital has become popular. Do you shoot digital at all?
That's all I'm shooting now, yeah.
But let's talk about that.
Okay.
Is that, quote, accepted by the profession, that it's not a professional camera, it's not a, old-fashioned camera?
Well, no, there's very high-end digital cameras, and then there's medium format digital, so you can get very, very good quality from digital now. I mean, there are digital backs that go on like Hasselblads, which everybody's heard of Hasselblad, I'm sure. But they're $20,000. So it's the real deal. I mean, it's definitely considered a professional format.
The one nice thing, though, about digital is you don't have to develop the stuff. Is that correct?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's great. You don't have to. I mean, the thing that learning on film. I mean, I'm so glad I have the experience that I have. And I was born at the time I was, as far as photography goes, because I worked with and I used mostly a film called Ektachrome, and I used it so much that I actually learned to think like a piece of film. So I just could interpret the lighting and the scene without having to mess with light meters and all. And then when I finally moved into digital, kicking and screaming, I still shoot like I'm shooting film. Like now with digital, people just like bang, 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 shoot a million, frames. And I'm still really, really selective. And I think it's just more habit than anything. But it forces me to be more selective and pay more attention to creating the image in the camera and really capturing it optimally in that moment, as opposed to, just shooting as many as you can and hoping you get one good shot, or fixing it later in Photoshop.
And talk about the thing you just mentioned, the idea of fixing in Photoshop.
Yeah.
I know there's some controversy in photography, or I'll read about it at times,
Yeah.
that people can, you can take a shot, but other people take the same shot and then enhance it or fix it or change it. And some people feel that's kind of wrong, or if you're judging a professional photographer,
Right.
should be on the basis of what I see versus what you doctored. How do you feel about that?
I have mixed feelings about it, but I'm very clear for myself that I'm a photographer, and I was trained that you create the image in the camera. We had no choice
Right.
back then, I mean, we could, I did retouching, but you actually used to retouch on the negative, which was crazy. So, but that's the way I learned, and that's the way I want to do it. To me, it's the art and the craft of photography. I do use Photoshop. I kind of have to, but I've deliberately not overeducated myself in Photoshop. So I just do the basics because I shoot in RAW, which means then you have to, then do some enhancement in Photoshop. But I don't want to be a digital artist. And for me personally, and I'm not passing judgment on anybody, because art is art, but for me, there's a fine line between when you pass from being a photographer into being a digital artist. And there's a lot of photographers out there that shoot and then do all kinds of enhancement on their images. And some of it is amazing and beautiful. And again, there's no judgment here. It's just, for me, I don't want to do that. Because I have so many images, I could sit and spend the rest of my life in front of a computer, playing around with images and doing all kinds of effects and things. And I just don't want to do that. I want to shoot.
And isn't that a great term you just used? And I think it describes it as a digital artist,
Yeah.
because that's somebody who, I guess, does enhance their art and changes it or manipulates it.
Yeah. Well, that's my
accordingly.
term.
No, but it's a great term.
Yeah.
In terms of, I could really see the value of it in that I could finally get a full head of hair. Maybe
Well, we could talk about that. I could do something for you.
one can hope. Ron, putting you on the spot a little bit, I asked you off the air to bring in, and hopefully some people on Facebook Live can see it. But I asked you to bring in some of your artwork. And I guess you call it art, though, or do you call it art?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I can call it fine art. You know, that's my intention when I'm creating it.
And when you take pictures, so in terms of lots of kinds of pictures you can take, what are the things you kind of focus in right now, or what's your area of interest?
Well, my big project right now is a series called Pedal to Metal. Is probably my biggest series, and I also studied horticulture. Have you ever heard of the Barnes Foundation?
Sure. Yeah, out of Philadelphia.
So I took their horticulture course there,
Yeah.
and because I've always loved nature. You know, when I was 5 years old and we moved into my parents' house, I wanted to start a garden, and they didn't want me to. So I just went around the neighborhood and took cuttings from other people's gardens and planted them. And when my mother finally moved out, I had to take a chainsaw to half of the garden just to clean it out. So I've always had a love of nature and flowers and plants. And so this series is about, I'm working in the studio. And I'm also, obviously, as a photographer, I'm crazy about light. You know, there's no photography without light. And I work in the, I will set up an image, and then I work in the dark, and I literally paint the light onto the image where I want it to go. I've had all these little lights that I've created, little specialized tips for that I can control where the light goes. And I literally paint the light exactly where I want it to go. But I have to work real fast, or else you'll see my hand in the image. So that's what I'm working on right now.
So do we have some examples that we can
Yeah,
try to show?
I don't know how well these are going to show up.
We'll figure out in a second. I think,
Okay.
why don't you tell us what we're going to be looking at, and we're going to see if we can show it.
Okay.
We're going to describe it on the radio as well.
Okay.
I'm just looking at this. Ron's showing me. I'd say you have more than a couple of images on that laptop, would you say?
Yes, just a few.
Okay.
So this is, I don't know how well you can see
I'm
it.
going to try to, let's give it to me if you would. Let me see if I can hold it up. And this is an image of, let's see if we can do this.
That's a sun. Oh, and the other thing is I grow everything that I shoot, so because that's the fun of it
I
for me.
come up
so.
great, but I think you got the idea of it, Ron.
Yeah.
Describe what people are looking at.
Okay, so that's a sunflower, and that's actually a rusty crushed paint can that I got at BIMCO. And this is what my series is about. It's pedal to metal, and I'm using rusty metal, either machine parts or old rusted metal things, and I combine the two. And it started out as a series where I was shooting dead and dying flowers, and I was shooting flowers past the point where most people would have thrown them away, and I just discovered that. And I'm not the first one to discover this, but that when flowers die, they pick up amazing textures, you know, and I love texture, and so I just started shooting all these dying and dead flowers, and it kind of evolved into a metaphoric series on death and dying, and how, you know, and I kind of applied it to us, and I don't want to get too presumptuous or pretentious, but basically what I saw in that was that when the physical starts to die, the true essence of the being emerges more, you know, and I was just having a lot of fun with that. But
Now
then
you were doing that with flowers.
with flowers,
Right.
yeah.
I guess the same point could be made with people as well, I guess.
Exactly. And I even had, when I had shows, I had bereavement groups would ask if they could have their meetings where my show was. And I had a philosophy professor from Kutztown University asked if he could use my statement for that show and teach a class on it. So I was very flattered by that. And, yeah, so that was a lot of fun. But then it just felt like it wanted something else. And so I started bringing in fresh live flowers and then old decrepit machine parts, rusty metal and all. And it was kind of a juxtaposition between the soft, gentle, beautiful, alive flower, and then showing how even things that we think are going to last forever, you know, decay and die eventually as well.
Show another picture, if you would.
Okay.
As you punch it up, I'll just kind of comment what Ron's doing. So
Okay.
Ron's looking at, must be thousands of images on his computer, and let's keep in. You're going to show another flower image.
Yeah, I
Okay,
can do
we'll
that.
try to improve the viewpoint of it. But
Okay.
for our listeners on our radio, we're just trying to show Ron's photographic capabilities. And Ron, you describe what we're going to show, and then I'll try to show it as best I can.
Okay, so that's a Gerber daisy in a spring, and it's kind of it's kind of trapped in there. And again, I could go into all kinds of meanings about it and everything, but the reality is when I'm shooting, I'm just doing what I think looks interesting. But it does have a sense of this beautiful, alive flower trapped in this hard metal thing, and yet it still shows its beauty, and it's still emerging, basically. But I just love the texture and the light.
That's going to cool, I guess, and that's, I don't know if you're trained in that, or it's more just a gift you have. You can look at something and decide if it has the look you're seeking. I mean, that's I guess, gift you have as a photographer.
Well, I appreciate you saying it's a gift. I guess it is. I mean,
I don't have it.
I just, the way I look at things, the way I see things. I mean, I have an interesting process. So I have my garden, and I'll go to the scrap yard and I'll pick up things that look interesting, rusty. Like I said, that one was a crushed paint can. And, sorry, my allergies are bothering me today a little bit. And I'll go out in the garden at night with a flashlight, and I'll just walk around the garden, and I'll say, who wants to come in? And I'll just cut some flowers and bring them into the studio. And I just walk in, and I have all these rusty props laying around. And I really, honestly, I don't put a lot of thought into it. I love the organic nature of it just coming together. And I'll just take the flower, and I'll say, oh, I'll grab this piece of metal, and I'll stick it on my shooting table, and I go, how would this fit in there? And I stick it in. I go, okay, that's good. And then I light it and shoot it. And again, I kind of almost say that the image creates itself, and I'm just the facilitator.
I love how you describe it. You call it interesting, and I guess that's the beauty of what you do in terms of how you see something as interesting. It's just like, I might just look at it as a whole piece of metal, flower,
Right.
a dead flower. I'd say to myself, how come I didn't choose live flowers?
Yeah.
You'll just see something. Curious, you said this is a bug. You've been doing these kind of pictures for how long?
This series I started in, gosh, I guess it was the early 90s. No, probably the late 90s.
Okay, so you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
What makes you choose, like, as you're working on this, are you working on another series of images?
I've got several, yeah.
And give
we
me
don't have enough time for me to go into all of them.
Another example, so you're taking the flowers and the metal. Are you
Right.
working on anything else, too?
I have a series called Light and Spirit that is soap bubbles. And I wanted to, I don't know if you ever watched the bubble, but right before it breaks, it starts to spin. And it gets really colorful. And I was trying to capture that moment. It's kind of like when you see something out of the corner of your eye, and then when you go to look at it, it's not there, because you can only see it out. So I wanted to capture that feel, that moment. And bubbles are so ethereal, and so fleeting. And so I'm just trying to capture that edge of light. And so I started shooting bubbles, and I won't show you the early ones because they are kind of primitive, but I loved watching the bubbles and shooting them. And you have to work pretty fast because they don't last very long. And then I thought, well, what can I do to enhance this? And before that, I had done a series called Sacred Smoke, where I was shooting different herbs from ceremonies in different cultures and photographing the smoke, and I could see the different qualities of the different herbs. And I thought, well, let me put some smoke here with this. And I started incorporating smoke with the bubbles, and I discovered that the bubbles have gravity, and they actually attract the smoke, and the smoke would start spinning around the bubbles. And then I figured out how to get the smoke inside the bubbles.
Well, how'd you figure that out? Or you don't have to tell this. Is that
I
trade?
could tell you, but I'd have to kill you.
Exactly. I just wrote a trade secret.
Yes, but
Right.
this is one that just kind of gives you the sense of what I'm doing.
even as Ron's describing, I'm finding myself wanting to grab the laptop from him and say, "Hey, I want to see that."
Hey, it's a new laptop, though.
Okay, but I don't know if our listeners or viewers can see it. We'll describe it, Ron, as I'm doing this. Describe what they're looking at.
It is pretty basic. It's a soap bubble, and there's smoke entering inside the bubble, and you can see how when it hits the bottom of the bubble, it kind of curls. But to me, it almost looks like an embryo in the womb.
Very cool in terms of, I mean, the whole process. Talk about, if not a trade secret, so the bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get them, or you got a bubble blower? Or, yeah, you got like the little things that kids still have, I guess.
Well, that's how I started.
Yeah.
Until I figured out, I've actually become very, very good at bubbles, and because I even shoot outside now with bubbles, and I'm able to control that.
I mean, that really
like-
is cool.
Yeah, I'll just show you this one real quick. I figured out how to get things inside the bubble too, which is kind of interesting.
It's like you're a magician here.
Yeah.
Wow, this is really cool. Describe again for the people who can't see it. I'm going to try to show it, but beautiful. Wow, is this something?
And then from there, I actually created another series. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. But it's just basically a flower inside the bubble, and then with smoke coming into the bubble also. And again, this is all done in the camera. It's not assembled in Photoshop. It's all done in the camera. Excuse me, and I'm working really fast. And
Is this done at your studio?
yes, yeah.
Okay. And so, I mean, that's pretty creative when you think about this, to get the bubble, to get the flower within the bubble, and then the smoke.
Mhm.
You're juggling three things that don't have a lot. Like you're
Well,
saying,
actually, four things:
The-
the smoke, the bubble, the flower, and the camera.
the camera. And this, like you said, you don't have a lot of time to.
No.
How much time do you have to do this in?
Well, I've gotten really good at making bubbles that last a while. So, but you never know. You just don't know. The thing could just pop any second.
How long can a bubble last?
The longest I had one last, I was working in the studio at night. I guess I was up there maybe 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And when I went back in the morning, it was still sitting there.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's almost so.
Which is
It seems
pretty
like.
interesting.
When you're shooting these pictures, do you have anybody helping you?
No, I work totally alone. Because I would get distracted.
Because it almost seems like you would need some. I mean, boy, you're juggling a lot of stuff. And then.
But that's the fun of it for me.
But on
That's
top of
the
that,
challenge.
you're juggling the light too.
Yeah.
The lighting too, and it's all. Most of these are done within your studio.
Yeah, all of them are done,
All of
except
them.
for the ones I do outside.
Do you
know.
prefer shooting inside or outside?
Inside, believe it or not.
Yeah, well-
'cause, I mean, I love shooting nature. I really do. And I'm always, like last night I was at Beaver Lake taking all kinds of pictures with my cell phone. But, there's enough nature photographers here in Asheville, so we don't need another one.
As you described it, though, yours is a little bit different because you were telling me off the air, you don't call it per se nature photography. It's more, you call it fine arts photography, fine art.
I like to. Hopefully I'm not being presumptuous by calling it that, but, yeah, that's, it's fine art to me.
To quote Ken Blanchard, management theorist, says the following. He says, if you don't toot your own horn, somebody else is going to use it as a spittoon. So
Right.
I'm glad you're tooting your own stuff because it's really cool. Ron, if any of our listeners want to get more information about your photography, we didn't even talk about your other stuff you do, but
Okay.
the photography, best bet is to do what?
You can go to my website, which is Ron Greenberg Photo, and it's Greenberg, B-E-R-G. RonGreenbergPhoto.com is my website. I also have, if you go to my Facebook page, I have I have my personal Facebook page, and then there's also a photography page. I'm sharing a little studio space with Tebby Davis in the River Arts District. He's a great painter, and we're having fun hanging out there together. So I have some work in his studio. And I have some work in Maya Gallery in Weaverville. And, yeah, that's pretty much it at this point.
And I'd like to thank you, Ron Greenberg, for being my guest this second half hour on the Blainsville Show. I'd also thank the Land of the Sky Chorus for being my guest the first half hour. Zuzu Welsh, who does music, you heard at the beginning of the show and at the end. And please join me next Wednesday at 9 a.m. here on the new WPVM LP in Asheville, North Carolina.
listening to WPBM.